All right, here we go. This is the checklist. I'm going to make a separate video for this. So this is going to be done on page 80. So if you go to the front of your booklet and just tell yourself, test checklist on page 80. That way you know to go there, right? Down the road. So here we go. So first and foremost, you want to make sure that you understand the difference between general form and vertex form. I need you to be able to see either one and know right away, be able to extract information that it gives you without even entering it into your calculator, right? So if you have in general form, it looks like this. That tells you, right, the width / opening, and this is your y-intercept, okay, just like that. And then vertex form looks like this. You can go plus or minus h, doesn't matter. So that's what it looks like in general. So this is still going to tell you the opening / width as well, just like before. And these two give you the coordinates of the vertex, right? Coordinates of vertex. However, there's a caveat there. You need to change the sign for h when you bring it in, and same thing if you were to make your own equation, or you need to change the sign from the vertex, the coordinate, into the equation. You need to change it as well. So that is very important. K stays the same. Okay. A couple things about the vertex form. If A and K have the same sign, right? If that's true, then no intercepts. Okay. A and K opposite sign, that will be 2 x-intercepts. I don't know, it's a little small, but there's a lot to cover here. So keep that in mind. Oh, it should say if k is equal to 0, 1 x-intercept. It doesn't matter what a is. The vertex will be right on the x-axis. So 2 things to consider. If there's no context, you're not told that the variables mean anything other than just x and y, and all 4 quadrants apply. So then the domain is just all real numbers, and the range, well, it depends. Y is less than or equal to when the thing is pointing down, and range would be y is greater than or equal to if this is pointing down. And it has to do with the vertex, right? The vertex, the y value of the vertex, basically is what would go in there. Okay, same goes for this one. So maybe I will be specific and say that goes there. So no context for domain and range. You should be able to get that. The AOS, so I'm going to kind of put this in a box to kind of pack it. The AOS is always x is equal to x of vertex, and the max / min is y is equal to the y of the vertex. And you might want to write that a little clearer on your study sheet, perhaps, just to make sure you know when you see that what's happening. So that's that, and I'm kind of going to block this off. And you got to be able to solve, find roots, x-intercepts, etc. That all means the same, right? So we can use the quadratic formula.
Lunch group is starting in room 1 right now. Lunch group.
Sorry about that. And then the quadratic formula, you should know how that one goes, how to work it, and your safest bet is to write it out like this and brackets everything. So obviously that is based on your rewritten. So I will say rewrite into.
Darian Colton to the office, please. Darian Colton to the office.
Right. You need to do that and then use quadratic formula or graphing method. So one involves rewriting. The other one, you go y1 is the left-hand side, y2 is the right-hand side. And then you find the intersections. But regardless, no matter which way you do it, it's always finding the intercept. So answer should look like this. Number 0, and then there could be 2, 1, none, right? But if you do have one, it's this. And it's probably worth mentioning that whatever's in the root is called a discriminant. And if the discriminant is positive, you've got 2 roots. If it's negative, no roots. And if it's 0, you've got exactly 1 root. Okay. So solving, there it is. That's the summary for that part. What else do we have? Word problems. Okay. With word problems, where the equation is provided, what you need to remember there is graph is confined to quadrant 1, usually. Okay. So what that means is you will have something happening in the first quadrant. Label and everything. Sometimes it hits the ground or the surface of the water. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you start right on the ground. So that is all based on the wording and the equation itself, obviously. I would say it's busy today.
First bidder, please go to room 97. Patients first bidder to room 97. Thank you.
If the equation is provided, you turn plot 1 off. I would say try zoom fit, then adjust as needed. Okay, try zoom fit and then adjust as needed. 1 second. So zoom fit as needed. And I think what I would like to emphasize here is, you got to make sure you're seeing your y and your x, right? So what that means is that you want your y min to like -5 or -10, x min also -5, -10, and the x max and y max will depend on the situation, right? So that's something to mention there. What else do I want there? Domain and range should not have infinities in it, right? So make sure you understand that. Okay. And I'm hoping that at this point you have on your study sheet, you have that figured out, how to help yourself write a good domain and range for that situation. Ask yourself, is this hitting the ground? Is it not hitting the ground? But it should always be domain or range. It should be the smallest followed by the largest. And there should be square bracket if you're doing interval notation. Or if you're doing set notation, that'd be smallest. And then the variable, whatever variable is in the equation. And then largest. And then squiggly brackets like that. Okay, so keep that in mind. Regressions. I think we've got that. It still falls under word problems, but I just wanted to re-emphasize 4 types of regressions. Type 0, points given. 1 is profit, types of questions. 2 is the perimeter. And 3 is the story. Find third point. That's very important. Right? Essentially, with all of these, you're going to need some sort of table, right? So it could be, when it's profit, it'll be price per item, and then items, and then profit. Okay, that's for this one. For perimeter, maybe I'll make this a bit smaller. And you need 3, right, of them. For perimeter, you would go length, width, area. Right? That's how it goes. And I guess for perimeter, you would need a little bit extra, right? Sketch, I would say sketch, isolate, then table. Okay, so sketch the scenario, what kind of fencing, what kind of, how many enclosures and whatnot, and then isolate. Usually you isolate for L. That means that you come up with a W values and then find your area. And so either length and area goes into L1 and L2, or width and area. So for all of them, I would say plot 1 is on. Plot 1 is on. And I will say this, plot 1 is on if you're planning on using Zoom Stat. If you're not planning on using it, then it doesn't really matter. To find graph, basically. Then adjust. You have to adjust because it doesn't solve all your problems. It just at least lets you see something, and then you go, obviously X-min and Y-min should be negatives, and then you adjust your X-max and Y-max accordingly, okay? So X-min, Y-min, -5 or -10, it doesn't matter, and then adjust X max, Y max. Okay, so that's there. And for all of these, you would go stat, calc, quad reg. remember it should start with y equals every time. Okay. So, and I guess it should quad reg because this might be way down the road, comma L2, comma Y1. And then it plugs it into your Y1, and you should write down Y is equal to. Anything else? Oh yeah, for graphing, I'll make this down here. Graphs, you should have labels and units. You should have scale, an appropriate scale. You should have the y-intercept. There's always a y-intercept, the vertex, and if possible, x-intercepts. And this is a bit of a question mark because if it points up, then often you don't have an x-intercept, but you still want to find, right, the one that's across. So if it's like this, oftentimes, right, it's this point here. Either the plane is caught here or there's a stunt and it comes back to here. So everything ends when you get back to the original height. So you'll use your y-intercept to find that point, and still you should be able to have the y-intercept, the vertex, and one more point to make a good graph. You need 3 points, okay? Or, right? So you have the y-intercept, the x-intercept, and the vertex. Do not go into the negatives. Okay, that's a no-no. And the rest you just go with. And remember, for all regressions, the key is to come up with 3 points. Okay, and if one point is out of whack, make sure that you adjust, like something went wrong, like especially when you do your zoom stat and one of the points that you've created is like not even on there, like you don't see a little box on your graph. Let me see if I have something ready to go here. No, let's turn plot 1 on zoom stat. So in this case, we don't want that equation because it has nothing to do with my graph. But if you have these points and one of those points isn't on here or is like way off, you should check something is wrong with your points. Okay, so keep that in mind. Anything else? I think this brings me to the end of this checklist. I'm not claiming that this is the encompasses everything we've covered, but this should have most of it covered. It'll give you a bird's eye view. Okay. Hope this helps. And for actual review material, I would say pages 86 to 91 is actually a test review. And pages 92 to 95, it's all 4 types of regressions are there to be found. Okay, so I will post those keys and you work through them. And if you do and are able to do all of that, you should be in good shape.